morning in peace from God our Father, from our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ. Amen. So here's something that happened to me the other day. I was walking up York Avenue in Manhattan on Thursday morning. It was a beautiful, clear day, but cold, so there were not many people out. I was wearing this jacket, because the fire department dresses me well. And I heard a voice off to my right say, in a kind of gravelly voice, "Is that engine 260? And I turned around and I said, "How did you know that?" And I struck up a conversation with a gentleman who was standing out on that cold day, polishing the brass poles, holding up the awning of one of those very nice Manhattan living residences. His name's Mike. He says, "Well, we have an engine 260 by me." I thought it was maybe the same one. He lives in Long Island City. I said, "No, this is for up in Pleasantville where I live." And then he says, "Chaplain, are you the chaplain, the Roman Catholic chaplain?" I said, "I'm the chaplain. They only have one." So Mike and I struck up a conversation, and it had to be maybe 5 minutes long. But in the course of that conversation, I found out that Mike is battling with prostate cancer, that he's upset by things that are happening in the world, that he had a really close relationship with a Catholic priest who was an inspiration to him, who died recently, and that sometimes Mike and I talked about theology too, that sometimes Mike wishes God would just step right in and take over. And I said, "Mike, I'm afraid that if God does that, God will step on me, because I'm not quite ready for God to step in. My righteousness does not exceed that of the Pharisees," to take a quote from Jesus from his teaching for this morning. So we had this wonderful conversation. As I say, it must have lasted 5 minutes, but we packed so much into that short amount of time. And I said to him as I was preparing to leave, because he kept looking over his shoulder into the building. I think maybe somebody was making sure Mike was polishing the brass on those poles, and he didn't want to take too much time. I said, "Mike, I'll pray for you. My name is Paul. Please pray for me." And then Mike said, wait a minute. What brings you down to this neck of the woods?" I said, "Well, I'm going to visit a member of the congregation that I serve who's been in the hospital for a while." And Mike said to me, "What's his name?" I said, "Steve." Mike said, "I'll pray for him too." Mike had no connection to Steve except through this brief 5-minute conversation with me, and yet his heart went out. We had this nice conversation together, and we found a meeting place between the two of us. I'll probably never see Mike again, but I've added him to my prayer list for his well-being and for his healing. I walked away and I said, "Salt of the earth." You know the kind of people I'm talking about. They're just wear their heart on their sleeve, and in no time you get to know them and have a conversation with them to a certain extent, and you just know that they're genuine, honest, decent, dependable people. That was my impression of Mike. Salt of the earth. And I want to invite you also to pray for Mike for his healing and his well-being, as he struggles with many things that are affecting his life. Salt of the earth. I kind of grew up among salt of the earth people, or so I believe, in a very blue-collar section of Queens. I mentioned that to Mike too. I said, "Hey Mike, I grew up in Queens, in Richmond Hill. Just very good, solid people. I kind of serve a congregation of people who are salt of the earth. Good, solid people who just seek to know what God's will is for their lives and do it to the best of their ability in the midst of the questions and the uncertainty and the changes that go on around them. Salt of the earth." I'm chaplain to a group of women and men who are salt of the earth. I always say that about the fire department here in Pleasantville. Just good, solid, decent, dependable, unpretentious people who, when they hear the alarm, respond for the good of the community. Jesus says, "You are salt of the earth. You are the light of the world." And he addresses those words to every single one of us, not just to those gathered on that hillside so long ago, but to every single one of us today. You are salt of the earth, he says. You are the light of the world. A good reminder as to our identity, our nature, who we are, who we're created to be, who we're called to be every day. To kind of lay aside who we think other people expect us to be, which happens quite often, and just remember that we can only be the person that God has called us to be. I mean, only be that person if we want to be honest and sincere. Or we can fake it. And then I think if we fake it, if we try and conform our identity to the people around us to make them happy, if we try and do that, then we are like salt that has lost its saltiness. Jesus says, such salt is good for nothing but to be thrown out and walked over. To respond to the person that God has created us to be with strength and integrity and courage, and yes, even a little bit of fear and trembling, but to respond to the person that God has called us to be. One of the things that brought a smile to my face after my brief conversation with Mike was that as different as we are in terms of where we live and what we do and our background and our understanding of things perhaps, in that moment, we were just two human beings. In conversation and in a short amount of time, mutual care and concern. Now, if that relationship with Mike had extended itself over time, who knows where it would have gone. We might have quickly found out that there were things that divided us, that maybe we didn't agree on and decided we wouldn't spend time with each other, or we might have become best friends, I don't know. But I'm thankful for that brief moment I had because of a patch on my shoulder that said E260. One of the great concerns that I have about our lives these days, our culture, our society, is that what we tend to see too often, and perhaps more so recently, is the division between us. We tend to box people into a certain understanding of who they are. We don't give them the benefit of the doubt. What we see is somebody different from us, whether how they look or what they say or what they believe. We tend to make exclusions and draw that circle smaller, and that's so dangerous. Because as we draw that circle smaller around ourselves, we lose that essential sense of community, which is the way that God has created us. To be in community with one another so that together we can improve the lives of those around us and our own by default. You are the salt of the earth, Jesus says. Now, salt serves a purpose. For the people of Jesus' time, it was about the only preservative they knew. So if they didn't salt the meat really well, it would just go bad. People would get sick. So that salt helped to keep something valuable, valuable. For our time, salt just tastes good. We can freeze things and preserve them in other ways, but for me, it just tastes good. Everything, sisters and brothers, needs salt. Well, that's what I've convinced myself. My mom used to say, you use too much salt. I said, Mom, it brings out the flavor in the food. She said, hogwash. You like the taste of salt. Yeah, I admit it now. I just like the taste of salt. There's a little bit of a danger today, too, isn't there? That we literally will become salt of the earth. Over the course of the Super Bowl, Americans will consume 11.5 million pounds of potato chips. 6,750 tons of potato chips. And you know how much a potato chip weighs. If you eat too many of them, you do become salt of the earth. So I want to encourage you to hydrate. And that's all I'm saying about that. You are the salt of the earth, Jesus says. You are the light of the world. I want you to think about that. Because I've heard many things that have been an inspiration to me about what that means. You know, bloom where you're planted, light the corner that you're in. But Jesus really encourages us to be more than that. Did you hear what he said? You are salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. That wherever your light shines, it makes a difference, not just to that small circle around you, but to the world as a whole. You are the light not just for the people in your immediate sphere of influence, but you are light of the world, he says. Why? Because when we meet people who are light, who share that light, who seem to have the positive attitude in the midst of whatever is going on, who have that ability to do things, to take action for the sake of others, then we too are inspired by what they do. And we feel enlightened and lighter because of that. Salt of the earth, sisters and brothers. Light of the world. It's a big job. It's a huge responsibility. So let me remind you of one simple thing as we close out our time together this morning. All light is derivative, like all love. Here's what I mean by that. If I have a candle in front of me, I can look at it as hard as I want. I can focus on that candle. I can think about that candle. I can pour my energy into that candle. But as far as I know, the candle will not spontaneously combust. As much energy as I might put into it. I must get a source from somewhere else to light that candle so that it shines and gives light to my surroundings. So too we, as we want to be light of the world, cannot muster up that energy all by ourselves and just work really hard, but rather to be light of the world means to derive that light from somewhere else, from God. To love another is not for me to try as hard as I can to kind of get my energy up and my focus together so that I can love that person, but rather to relax into the arms of God who loves me and teaches me to love others. All light, all love are derivative. They come from another source. And through me, they're brought into the world. As I seek to allow God's light to shine. And here's what I will stake my reputation on. That each and every one of you are light to someone. That each and every one of you is salt of the earth to someone. That each and every one of you helps other people to have confidence and hope and strength by what you do. Whether responding to alarms or listening carefully or advocating for those things that are important to you, by seeing not what divides us but what unites us, by the many ways in which you seek to be light to the world, you inspire people because you allow that love of God to flow through you into the world. And by doing that, you light not just your corner, but you light the world. So today I am thankful. I am so thankful. I get to spend time with people who are the salt of the earth, who are light of the world. And I want to just witness to you that because of your faith, your determination, your struggle, your prayers, your energy, your expertise, your love, your grace, I am inspired. I am enlightened. And God is at work.